the 2+2 Pokercast, presented by RunItOnce.com. I'm your host, Dave Schwartz, alongside Mr. T. Chan.
What's happening?
Mr. Roscoe P. Coltrane.
Hey there.
We are in the lovely confines of Mr. Terrence Chan's apartment building and not a hospital room where, you might have ended up after this fantastic fight.
Oh, ye of little faith.
That was the big thing we had this weekend. Of course, we were talking about it for weeks, coming up to the big fight on Saturday night against Vaz Lep. Mr. Terrence Chan improved to 3-0.
3-0 is the professional record.
Mr. Lep is now 0-3.
He is, unfortunately.
He has not had a win. A lot of fun.
His game selection just sucks.
His game selection wasn't strong.
Because he's a tough dude, and there's no quitting him. So
yeah.
I think he'll get on the board. He just needs to. I don't know. His agent just needs to find a quick step down.
So let's talk about that. That's interesting. Terrence won the fight. It wasn't really that close. They didn't have a live stream of it like they have in the past, so people couldn't watch it. But I actually,
you were the man.
Periscoped
I
it.
owe you big time.
I was kind of drunk. I must confess.
You know what? I've got multiple videos. Yours is probably the best.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My girlfriend Robin at ringside. She wasn't drunk, but because she was so close, the lights kind of wash out the action.
Oh, I see.
And then my cousin was all the way in the back, so he was kind of too far away. So yours probably stands as the best current video on out there in your Periscope.
I think that talks about
the commentary. The commentary
from MJ, the ex-host, co-host of this program. For those who've been listening for a long time, Mike Johnson was standing right beside me. Of course, they hit him in the face drop that we play a lot. There were several. You could pull some. Hit him in the face! You could have pulled several of those from the fight video.
Terrence is fired up.
We were drinking. We were at his place. I was mixing up the whiskey sours, and there was a bunch of people there, poker players and stuff. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of your friends too.
Yep.
Came by. We had a good time, and then we went down to the fight.
$50 million in Hendon Mob earnings in the front row of my fight.
Yeah. Well,
but, most of it,
Steve O'Dwyer,
Ike Caxton, Jeff Rosser, Ben Tollerine, Brian Roberts. It was kind of Matt Harbour. It was kind of absurd.
Did we make the joke on the show? I can't remember if it was you and I off to the side or on the show where they put a line out and we were wondering if the casino was going to book action.
Yeah.
And you could just kind of see Ike standing there at the window going, "I'd like to bet 1100,000 on Terrence Chan minus 160."
Yeah,
just
exactly.
to freak them out.
It's like, sir, the maximum is $100.
Exactly. Yeah, that's not
Was there some fight gambling going on?
There's a little gambling. Yeah, we did the you pick, I pick, $100. We got there a little late.
There's a dispute.
There was a dispute. Yeah. So we got there, and in the past for Terrence's fights, Mike Johnson and I, we'll get there, and you pick the fighter this fight. Mm-hmm. I pick the fighter next. I will bet $100 a fight.
Pretty easy.
And this week,
and of course, you guys have no information about either any guy.
But you can glean.
You see them on their walkout.
Yeah.
You see the records too, I guess. Yeah.
Well, if you're sober enough to wait for the record, in which some cases, M. Johnson.
I want the guy with the tattoos.
Yeah. So what happens is I get the luxury of having to pick your fight. And in the past, it's gone back and forth, and whoever's turn it was just got to pick Terrence.
Right.
And I picked Terrence, and I won, and they decided. Well, Grapes was the other one who was sharing action with him and Wilson, Scotty Wilson.
There's betting syndicates.
They were like,
right now.
yeah, so they had
multiple.
They hadn't been there in the past when it was MJ and I doing it, so they weren't familiar with how it's gone before. And before your fight, to give them credit, they said, "Hang on, I don't want to bet it against Terrence." And I'm like, "That's too bad. It's your turn." And
that's cold, bro.
I kind of let it. Yeah, we ended up saying, "No, okay, Terrence fight's a wash." Anyway, so I want to talk about the fight a little bit. First off, it's interesting you say his manager should talk about game selection. So after the fight, fighter selection. I'm thinking that was not much of a challenge for you. It didn't look like it was much of a challenge. The guy could take a punch. You dominated the fight from front to back, I think. Mm-hmm. I'm not an MMA judge by any stretch of the imagination.
I think that's fair.
But I think it's easy to say that you pretty much dominated that fight. And I'm wondering, is that disappointing to you in some way that you've trained really, really hard and the guy didn't put up much of a challenge? Or is it a thing like, I'm happy with the way I prepared and this is what happens from preparation?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely the latter. It's just a matter of, like, if I hadn't prepared that hard, maybe he would just beat my ass. And so, like, you can't...
Do you think that case, that could happen in this fight?
100%. If I had just sat on my ass eating donuts for the last 6 weeks, Vasiliev would have had my ass.
Really?
100%. Yeah,
okay.
Because I mean, he's not incompetent. I mean, I think I'm skilled. Like there are guys. I mean, I think one of the fights you went to, like I could have beat that guy, like just coming off the couch for sure.
Yeah.
But Vaz, no, he came. He was in shape. He never stopped fighting. I mean, if nothing else, I would have gotten like so tired that he would have like I might have round one on like pure better skill, but I think he would have like somebody in that kind of physical shape would have started to take over and just got better. And I think he trained really hard because the reason why I say that is because I fought guys who don't train hard. Well, I would say I've only fought like probably one or two guys that didn't take the stuff seriously. But I could tell with him, it was the same look when I fought Ali last year, the last fight that you were at. The tremendous disappointment and surprise that he lost. He was really surprised that he'd lost the fight.
Really?
Vaz was, yeah, and Ali was last year.
Not when the decision was. Well, not when the actual.
Well, yeah, not when I bent my arm, but bent his arm behind his back. But I just mean like I just mean that like when we got up and he was okay, and I looked at him and I gave him a hug and I said like, "Good fight, man." Like I could tell like he was devastated and crushed, and you don't get that unless you really expect
believe to what you're going to win.
Exactly. And so I really believe that he trained hard and that he did all the things. I mean, this guy flew to Montreal to train with with a guy named Faraz Sahabi, who's the most famous coach. He's probably there's probably like 3 coaches that are tremendously well respected in MMA, and Faraz over in Montreal is one of them. He changed Georges St. Pierre, who I'm sure you know.
So he spends a lot of money to train.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe,
theoretically, right?
Yeah, maybe he slept on some dude's couch and begged, and washed the floors at night. I don't know. Like, I don't know what the guy does for a living. But yeah, I mean, he takes it seriously. So, I think if I just rolled up off the couch and tried to fight this guy, then maybe I win round 1, but I probably gas, and I think he probably beats me up.
So having said that, how much time do you spend into? Oh, I've got an offer to fight a guy. Mm-hmm. Let me look at his record. Give me some information about him, or is it snap? Yeah, I'm going to take it. Like, do you think I want to challenge myself, or do you want to say? Are you going to say maybe?
I've turned down fights against guys who were cans. So I was once offered a fight against a guy who was like 0-6, and I said no, I'm not taking that.
Okay.
Because this and he wasn't like the 0-6 the way that Vaz is 0-3. He was like an 0-6, and like I've watched his fights, and like the second he gets hit, he just like falls and crumples, and I have no idea why he fights, to be perfectly honest.
Right.
And so I've been offered fights like that, and I don't do that. So I mean, so how much time do I put in thinking about fight? Yeah, I mean, I don't snap accept every fight for sure. But I've never turned one down. But I would definitely want.
Is there a case where you would turn one down, where you would go, that guy is like out of my league?
I mean, I would certainly turn down fights like way out of my weight class against bigger guys. But in terms of guys in my weight class,
in your weight class, can you see a vision?
So if I got like offered Demetrius Johnson to fight for the UFC title tomorrow, except that it wasn't for a UFC title.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think if somebody. Yeah, I mean, I probably would. I mean, I bring every fight to my coach, whether it's my coach in Hong Kong or my coach in Vancouver, and so we kind of make that decision jointly, and so that's. Because me objectively, like, yeah, I would want to fight everybody. So you have to have that second pair of eyes on it to protect you and say, like, okay, this is a bridge too far or something like that. But no, I've never been offered a fight that I turned down for, I've turned one down because I'm not in the country or something.
Right.
But not because of opponent difficulty. No.
So nobody knew, but about 8 or 9 days before the fight.
If I were Vaz, I would have considered not taking me. So this is another to continue answering your question about whether Vaz's game selection is poor.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Like what I don't know what was in his head when he fought me. I would guess just kind of knowing what I know, the guy, he probably snap accepted because he's a gamer. But he, there's an argument to be said that he should have taken an easier fight, because once you go from 0-2 to 0-3, now other promotions look at you. They don't want to book an 0-3 guy. And so I think there's an argument to be made that he shouldn't have taken the fight to drop his record, because there's a big difference between 1-2 and 0-3. Like, sure. 1-2 looks like you're competent. 0-3 looks like you have no fucking idea what you're doing, which is not the case. But that being said, at my weight class, so there's two heavyweights. There's two classes where it's really hard to find fights, I think, and it's flyweight and heavyweight.
Okay.
Because there are not that many people like over 205 pounds who are in shape, and there's not that many people under 140 pounds that are in shape. Right?
Okay.
So I think most people are average size by definition. So at the end, so that plays into probably why I took the fight.
Nobody except your friends knew. Just before 8 days before your fight, you did your ankle really badly.
Yeah, I had a pretty bad ankle injury. It was just couldn't put in the final touches on the preparation, and I was with a partner, and I just stumbled back and I fell on it, and it went really bad, and I screamed out in pain.
You couldn't put weight on it for 24 hours.
I hobbled around on it with a broomstick for the next day. I still couldn't stand on my own 2 feet on 2 days after, and I didn't start walking until basically the day you saw me, the day of our last show, I think, right, which was Sunday night, I think was the first day that I actually was able to competently walk.
I remember talking to you when it just happened, and you didn't sound like you were ready.
I thought
to
I was
fight.
about 30%.
Yeah.
I thought it was about 30%, and then on Monday
to fight, not 30%.
Yeah. I thought, if you had to bet on it, I would say 30%. And then when it was Monday, I would say it was about 70% on Monday.
Yeah.
After I saw the physio, and he actually taped my foot, taped my ankle, and I felt how it was when it was taped, and I was like, ooh. I don't move very well, but it's structurally sound. It doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart on me. And so that's kind of when I made the decision, for better or worse,
to go for it.
Yeah.
Taped it up pretty good. And how did it hold up? Were you happy with how it held?
It felt great. Like there was no pain at all at any point. You can see in the video, I threw up some kicks with both legs. So the standing leg and the kicking leg were good. And I didn't feel it at all. The only thing is that like when you put tape on your foot, like, because MMA and martial arts is like a barefoot sport, it's not like, say, taping your foot for hockey, where you would still have the exact same mobility because it's in a skate. Like, I can't kind of dance around and move as well because it's kind of in this frame and in this brace, but it's like structurally strong. So you're sacrificing. You're sacrificing speed for strength, basically.
Right.
But obviously, like, all the speed in the world isn't very good if you just like step on it the wrong way and you fall apart.
So your record is attractive now. Obviously, you're in. This is the Battlefield Fight League.
Yep.
Do you envision a situation where they come to you and say, "Hey, why don't you fight for a title fight or something like that?"
I hope so.
Or is this too early still? Do you think?
No. I don't think it's too early. And if they'd given me a chance to jump on the mic, I would have asked for a title fight. The main problem is, again, what I just said. There's not that many 125ers, and
presumably there's a champion.
There is not. They have a champion at 35, 45, 55, 70, and I think at heavyweight. I'm not sure if they have.
There was a heavyweight because there was a heavyweight.
Yeah. No, sorry. I don't think they have one at 185 and 205.
I see.
The question. So they have and again, this is again the issue with, you don't want to make a champion in a weight class that doesn't have enough fighters, because then that guy never gets to defend his belt, right? Like, so there are probably really only like 30 competent 125ers in Western Canada.
Wow.
Right? Like, I mean, we're small guys, and then you just take the small guys who have enough experience and have enough fights to fight for a title. Now you're left with like 5 guys, right? So so that's the primary reason that they haven't had one. But and so a lot of organizations don't have flyweight titles, unfortunately.
So you're gonna have to go elsewhere, do you think, then to fight?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I think there are 125ers in British Columbia, in Alberta, and Washington State, which is kind of our general area. But yeah, I mean, I'll keep marking myself out there. And obviously in Asia there are more.
Yeah.
So
you could go to Hong Kong and fight.
Most people know that I often do the show from Hong Kong or Thailand or somewhere like that. And yeah, MMA is the problem. There is MMA is not as big, but there are more guys in those smaller weight classes, especially in like the Philippines and places like that.
Cool. Anything else did you want to mention about the fight, or is there?
I think that's it. Check it out on Periscope. So I ripped off your stream because I think Periscope takes their stuff down after some period.
Oh, do they?
So I threw it up on YouTube. if you're listening to the show, I would check it out in the next few days because I tend to take my stuff down after a little while. Just don't give anybody else any scouting on it. So if you're interested to see a fight, that's it. And really appreciate all the zillions of tweets. Obviously, I couldn't answer them all.
Yeah.
And all in the forum too. I got some love in the forum.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thanks, guys.
Good time.
For everybody who hates MMA and doesn't want to hear about it on the show now, you get to
You're done.
you get to not hear about it for at least.
Although
a couple weeks.
got offered a fight.
I got offered a fight. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll just have to see how the injury's doing.
Okay.
Before we go further.
Good.
On that
Good. All right, moving on. Let's do some in case. Well, first of all, let's mention. So the show today, we had some time to talk about the fight. We're going to quickly do a thing or two, and in case you missed it, some emails.
There are some things you might have missed.
A couple of things, yeah, and we're going to do another show, I think, Thursday, somewhere in that range, and talk about World Championship All Night Poker.
Let's do it.
And other stuff that comes up.
Is this the final week of the WCOOP? Is WCOOP this Sunday? I've been so out of the poker world because of the fight. Yeah, okay, so the last day is the 25th, which, I think is...
Bacon Con.
Sorry, the last day is the 26th, so I guess there's some sort of last chance stuff going on. I think the main is on the 25th, which is Sunday. Cool.
Hey folks, quick note from our sponsor. Sharkscope.com is the tournament tracking software that tracks players' online statistics, including yours. Do you want to know who the sharks are so you can avoid them? Head on over to Sharkscope and they'll give you 5 free searches each day. And if you log in using your Facebook account, they'll double it to 10 free searches a day. One search could help you avoid a trap that might just win you a tournament. Go over to Sharkscope.com and register an account and then start searching. It's just that easy. Sharkscope.com, the best online tournament tracking for over 10 years. Track your statistics, avoid the sharks, and find easier tournaments at Sharkscope.com. All right, let's get into some in case you missed it.
How did he miss the open goal? 6x4, and he comes up 0. Oh, no! Oh, yes, he missed it.
He's missed it! How on earth did he miss that?
In case you missed it, the World Series of Poker coverage on ESPN is in full force, full
Swing?
swing.
Is that the one you're going for?
Episode number 4 recently aired, and this is the one I want to talk about. Of course, fantastic coverage from Lon and Norman, Chad. I blanked on his name for a second.
I wasn't sure if you were trying to think of something funny to say because it's Norman Chad and there's always some sort of like punchline that's associated.
There was a great one. I laughed completely out loud at this one. There was a guy on the that they were showing who was saying, "How can this happen?" He had like kings. His opponent got 5s. They had 5s. They got all in 5 on the flop, and the guy's like, "How can this happen to me again?" And Norman goes, "That sounds like me at family court," and I just. I was howling. It was perfectly timed.
So you're still down with Norm,
I love
Chad,
Norm.
but specifically the divorce jokes.
Oh yeah,
You're down with
if
that.
they're good.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the rambling wreck or whatever college jokes he ends.
I like the running gags because it's sort of like it's sort of like this show. You listen to the running gags and like how many
drops
tell and
sure. It's good fun. So this week there was a lot of trash talking going on. Well, I'm not sure if you would consider it trash talking, but there was a lot of controversy regarding table talk specifically in episode 4. And this British gentleman, William Kassouf, was playing at a table, and he seemed like a nice, affable guy. I can see how he would be irritating after a while because he nonstop talk.
Right.
But it wasn't in any kind of mean-spirited fashion, anything like that. He gets in a pot with a lady named Stacey Madison. And on the river, we don't see all the action. I think what happened was something was going on. ESPN got called over mid-hand, so they had the cameras tableside. And he had shoved on the river, and it was up to her to call off for her life. Right. She had pocket queens.
The board's like 10 high. 10.
Not even. It's like...
I think it's like... Yeah, I think
8
it's like,
high, I think, something.
It's like
and it's
10-8, 6, or 10-8, 5.
Unpaired, some 5 kind of rags, no flush, nothing. And William is, while he's waiting for her to make a decision, he's talking to her.
Yeah.
And he's not doing, in my opinion anyway, he's not doing anything out of that should be considered a penalty. He's saying, "You're not going to put me on this hand. I can tell you that right now, and I'll show you. If, when we throw our hands away, I'll show you if you want to see it.
That was the main thing that he kept saying over and over was, I'll keep it friendly. I'll keep it friendly.
Yeah.
I'll show you. I think he says at one point, I don't want to bust you.
Yeah.
So he's basically doing the strong means weak thing. Of course, we can see that he has 9 high.
He says, "I want you to call," a couple of times.
Yeah, he says, "I want you to call." So basically, we've got this 10 high board. He's got like 9 high.
He's got nothing.
And he's acting super strong. This is sort of the classical super strong. If you read Zach Elwood's reading Poker Tales, this is actually, like, in my opinion, I don't know how you feel about it, a tremendously impressive Hollywood performance from him, because if I were at the table, I would also think he was strong.
Really?
I
didn't watch it in that manner.
Absolutely. I mean, I would be interested in taking a poll, if you could get an honest poll of like the other 9 dudes at the table, and sort of seeing whether they thought he was strong or weak. But if you hid the hole cards for me, I would have thought that was an excellent performance of how to bluff exploitively using strong language. Because in general, sort of, the more people talk, the stronger, I think the stronger that they are, and generally, like, I think strong means strong when they can do it that, like, when they can do it that well, and they're really being bravado and a lot like that. So props to him, in my view, sort of for really, you're about to mention it, but eventually she times out basically and folds.
Well, yeah, we'll get to what happens with but I think there's another thing at play here too. Is that, and she's got pocket queens, by the way. She's got an overpair of the board.
Tough spot. I mean, assuming this guy like fired multiple barrels.
Absolutely.
We don't know, but I'm guessing the pot's big. She probably fired multiple barrels at her.
He called she called and then decided what to do in the river. So, but there's this male-female dynamic as well. And a lot of the times what you get, what I've seen anyway, and especially among casual players, is men don't want to bust. They really don't want to bust women.
That does happen. That's true.
And so if you're a woman and you're sitting there and the guy's basically saying, you know what, I don't want to bust you. I want you to call. I'll show you my hand. Like,
especially if he's been like a nice guy kind of up to that point.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. And she would know better than me because she's lives the life as a female poker player.
Exactly.
I don't.
Yep.
So she has a bunch more information to parse than I do. But what I've seen is some men trying to let women off easily sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
In hands.
That's absolutely a thing we've all seen.
So she's got to consider that, right?
Yep.
She's got to sit there and go, wow, maybe this guy is actually trying to give me a break. He's got me busted.
For sure.
I'm going to fold here. And as you mentioned, great performance.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you're right. She has more experience. She has more information than you. But what I want to point out is that, again, that makes Kassouf's bluff and the Hollywooding so much more impressive, because you're at an asymmetric information perspective, right? Like, you have only played 5% of your hands, say, against women, but women have played 95% of their hands against men, right? Like, so I mean, like, to be able to pull that off, I thought it was a hell of a performance by this guy.
Right.
It might not be the nicest thing to do, but I mean, you're also playing the World Series main event, and there's 100 people left. You don't have to be nice. You only have to be ethical. So I guess this gets into the discussion of whether this is ethical.
What did the dealer say? So the dealer said something along the lines of...
Yeah, it was hard for me to hear exactly what the dealer said, but he seemed to be saying the same thing that the floorman was saying, which was that, you're not allowed to do this or talk or something like that.
Okay, first he runs into trouble with the dealer. The dealer calls him out, and I want to play the audio here of exactly what the dealer said.
I want you to go. You cannot say anything that influences the action at hand. Saying what's in the pot, you cannot say that. She keeps saying to me you cannot say what's in the pot.
So that's really interesting. I think he says just before that clip, he says there's 600,000 or 500,000 in the pot. I want you to call. And now the dealer is telling him that he can't say how much is in the pot. I don't think that's a rule. I don't think that's right.
It's absolutely not a rule.
Yeah, like that. I don't see anything wrong with him saying there's 600,000 in the pot. The dealer can't say what's in the pot unless somebody asks him.
And no other player at the table can say anything about anything.
Right, but the people in the hand, there's 600K, I want you to call. There's nothing wrong with that.
Correct.
So clearly this guy has pissed this dealer off, or this dealer is doing something clearly irritates him about the player. Like, I don't know why the dealer is all of a sudden deciding.
I mean, there are dealers who are more interfering than others. I mean, that's... Yeah, I don't know either.
So the floorman gets called over, and the floorman is now saying, This isn't Jack Eiffel. Jack gets called in a second, but a floor man gets called over, and he's standing behind while...
I don't remember his name, but he's one of the older ones. I think he's got
he's there a lot, yeah.
One of the guys. He's a veteran for sure.
And now Stacy, his Kasuf's opponent, says he's breaking all these rules and his hand isn't dead, basically. She's kind of asking for his hand to be killed.
Which is never going to happen, which would be horrendous.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that would just...
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's never going to happen. It shouldn't happen. The floor man is basically saying, okay, let's wait till this hand finishes, and I'm going to talk to Kasuf about this, something, I guess. Again, this is edited footage. We don't see what's leading up to this. But for them to get mad at him clearly for this specific hand where they've shown this information bothers me a lot. I don't think there's any reason for it to go after him like this. Jack Eiffel then gets called over, and Jack has very little patience a lot of the time with situations like this. I think Jack does a great job running tournaments, I think, but one of his downfalls, in my opinion, is he lacks patience in situations like this to get the decision right.
Yeah, I think he's got a temper sometimes.
He's got a temper, and he lets things get to him. He gets called over. Now the player is told several times by the floor man, "I don't want to hear another word. You can't say another word in this hand," which is ridiculous because she starts talking to him, and then he answers her because she's talking to him. So the floor man saying he's not allowed to talk, but she is allowed to talk to him is completely wrong.
Yeah, and I'll say, okay, so there's a couple points to this. Like, first of all, I'm right there with you that I think that they're out of line, they being the floor and the dealer, for kind of shutting him up, because I don't think he's violated any rules. I'm right there with you. But I still do feel like if you have a sense of self-preservation, you shouldn't continue talking if the floorman's told you to stop talking.
Sure.
And so what happens is that the guy continues to get a little bit... he's clearly like an argumentative kind of dude. He's pushing the boundaries a little bit.
They said he was a lawyer, so that makes
a
lot of
sense. There you go.
Yeah.
So he's pushing the boundaries a little bit. So once they tell him he can't talk, now he starts, there's gesture, and he starts doing that.
He mimes, "I'm going to show my hand if you show your hand."
Exactly. He also does the mime of the key in front of your lips, like "my lips are sealed" sort of motion. And then he kind of shrugs his shoulder, and then I think it's Jack at this point.
Now Jack's standing behind him with his hands on his hips. You can see Jack's pissed off just by his body language.
And I think he actually says, if you make one more gesture...
No more gestures.
So now he's not allowed to gesture either.
What's this guy can he breathe?
Yeah.
At this point, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think that's wrong. I mean, okay, so I pulled it up right here. Rule 113 of the 2016 World Series of Poker.
Okay.
Let's just get this clear for the record.
Sure.
Table talk / disclosure. Participants are obligated to protect other players in the tournament at all times. Therefore, whether in a hand or not, players may not. So this is the list of things that you may not do.
Right.
Okay. So obviously this only applies to those two people in a hand.
It says whether you're in a hand or not. So this applies to everybody.
Right, but nobody else. Yeah, nobody else is saying
Nobody
anything.
says anything at the table, but it applies to everybody. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. A, disclose the contents of live or folded hands.
Did that happen?
No, clearly not. B, advise or criticize play at any time. So you can make the argument that he does this, that he says you should fold. But I have never once...
if we're going to start enforcing that rule, we've got a big problem. Because that happens all the time.
Because it's
it should happen.
It's coffee housing. It's saying, like, I got it, you should fold. Or
absolutely.
You should call... I mean, this is very clear. Like, I can't count how many times at a poker table somebody has said, "I've got it, you should fold," or something like that.
And do you want to take that away?
It's literally in at least the triple digits and maybe the four digits.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's clearly part of the game. Unless you're in England, I think we are not allowed to say stuff like that. C, read a hand that hasn't been tabled. D, discuss strategy with an outside source. That's not applicable, obviously. And E, the one participant to a hand rule mentioned in Rule 111. And then there are but even then there are special exceptions. Okay, one of the special exceptions, number 1, a participant is allowed to mention the strength or content of his or her hand if no other participant in the hand will have a decision to make, which is the case, right? So they are in a heads-up pot. Okay, and so you are actually explicitly loud, unless I am completely misinterpreting Rule 113, E1 here. 2, in heads-up events or when down to the last 2 participants in a tournament, players may speak freely regarding contents of their hands. That doesn't apply. 3, and this one does apply, the floor person reserves the right to use his or her judgment to determine if one participant intentionally helped another participant. Participants who violate this rule are subject to penalties in accordance with rules, blah, blah, blah. You could make the argument, although it's clearly not the case based on the fact that he was misleading her all the way, that he was trying to help her, right? So, like, this is basically like a prevent soft playing thing. So, like you were mentioning before, guys weren't, they don't want to bust their friends, or they don't want to bust the pretty girl at the table, or whatever it is. They say, like, I have the nuts, please don't call, and that kind of thing. But that's obviously not the case, since he had 9 high, and he was totally, as Norm would say, whamboozling her.
Yeah.
That may be the only instance of me ever using the word whamboozle, but
and
I think
you use it in proper context.
That is probably the best use of the word.
I think it's the only time
he whamboozled that.
What a jabroni.
Yeah, and then so Jack gives
wrestling. This is poker. Get it
the
together.
Iron Sheik all of a sudden. Jack gives him a 1-round penalty for this, which I thought was
way wrong.
So wrong. And
I'm not even, because I don't know what the penalty would be for.
The penalty was for, Jack said that it was for goading, or what was the term? I can't remember exact the word. Showing her up, basically, by saying, I'm going to show you my hand, blah, 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 that kind of thing.
What if he didn't show the hand? Would he still get a penalty?
So
I feel like I would like to get Jack on to talk about it. I mean, because I don't feel that it's fair for us to speculate on what's going on in his head as he gives the penalty. I mean, I think he deserves the right to kind of tell his side of the story. So I've actually sent him a message. It was only about an hour ago that I sent him a message. So I hope he is able to have him on and talk about it. Jack, because if you're out there, we want to hear your side of the story, because it is a fascinating argument, and maybe there's something that we haven't considered.
Well, and it's a big it's a big deal for me, because we've talked a lot about poker becoming sterile, boring for people,
right?
And you sit there with your headphones
9
on,
guys with hoodies,
9 guys with hoodies, and you're not allowed to talk, and you're not allowed to do this. And even as you read these rules, it's pretty clear that they want to be able to have anything that they don't like fall into one of those rules, so they can stop it. Like,
sure.
they're very loosely defined, so they have enough rope to go after people they don't like.
Right, the floorman's discretion.
The floorman's discretion.
And I think that that is because it's part of. And this applies to all professional sports and things like that. When you've got humans making the decisions, right? People are going to rule in favor of people that they like and rule against people that they don't like. And of course, it's the job of the referee, the floorman, whatever person is entrusted with being the fair decision maker, to sort of ignore the fact that I don't like this guy, I think he's a douchebag, I still have to make the right ruling. Or, man, this is the sweetest person in the world. It's like a 96-year-old blind grandmother who is going to donate the first place to starving orphans or whatever like that. You have to rule those people the same, at least in theory. But of course, humans are humans, if somebody makes an emotional decision, that's why I sort of say that Kasuf doesn't help his own cause by sort of being this arrogant or this,
comes off as arrogant.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like the sort of thing, like when you get pulled over by a cop, like even if you're well within your rights, if you haven't done anything wrong to be a jerk, you still shouldn't be a jerk.
I learned that lesson.
Did you?
Yeah, when I got pulled over.
That's good.
Well, I give her. She goes, "Can I see your driver's license?" So I hand her my license, and
you're like, "I don't know, can you?"
Yeah.
You're not one of those people that has the window rolled up to the corner, and have you seen those people on YouTube?
No, I am one of those people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But I won't do it like that. But here's the thing.
I don't understand.
We're getting on our foot.
I'm talking about the people that are, like, aggressively...
the free staters or something they are. They don't think that they should be able to be stopped by anybody at any time.
So they're like, I'm filming you the whole time. I'm only talking to you through, like, this tiny crack in the window. I know my rights, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, but what happens... This is another tangent. But what happens in Canada is you get pulled over, and at roadblocks... the first thing they always say to you is, where are you coming from tonight? And that pisses me off because it's none of your fucking business where I'm going from.
That's weird. I didn't know they ask that.
You pulled me over to ask me if I was drinking. That's fine. Ask me if I was drinking.
Right.
Were you at a restaurant? Did you have something to drink? Were you at a bar? Are you coming from
I've never been asked that. I mean, I haven't been pulled over nearly as many times too, but I've never
in Roblox. I'm talking about like counterattack, what they call drinking and driving.
The drinking and driving
it's always where are you coming from? And it pisses me off every time they ask me because they're intentionally trying to lead the person into telling them something. So I always just say, look, I came from back that way. Like, I'm not telling you where I come from kind of thing. And that always gets them.
Of course,
But anyway, I give the girl, she asked for my license. I give it to her. She goes, what's your address? And I go, is it not on the license? And then I was pissed off because I got pulled over.
Yeah.
But then I realized, and then she's like, "Oh, you're smart ass" or something like that. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. You want me to talk so you can see if I'm slurring or whatever."
Right.
That kind of thing. But anyways,
I have a question. I do have. Okay, I know we're off the tangent, but I do have a question for you. Would you do this in the United States of America?
Would I say?
Would you say? Does it not say that on there, or whatever you said to her? Would you say it if you weren't in Canada?
If I was an American, probably. If I was a Canadian, I feel like I'm.
So you'd be willing to say that? What if you were a black American?
Well, I don't have. I would have to be. I would have to have lived the life of a black American to understand. I have white privilege.
Shots fired.
Right.
So if I were a black American, there's 0% chance.
I can't imagine I would say it. Yeah, but I'm coming from
shots fired.
I'm coming from the white privilege.
Yeah, I know.
It's hard to say. I can't remember what we were talking about, but we were talking about the Jack Couple thing. Clearly, I guess. It just bothered me that that Jack really kind of from the video footage, and again, it's
sort of lost his patience.
He lost his patience really quick, and he didn't give the guy what I thought the respect that he should have.
Yep.
And I don't want to get rid of this stuff. I enjoyed watching that on television. If I'm playing, I think that's.
I mean, that's great.
I mean,
this is. I mean, I'll tell you something. You sent me that link, and I heard about it on Twitter, and that's. I hope Lon and Norm don't get mad at me. This is the first 15 minutes of this year's coverage that I've watched.
Yeah.
And I thought it was great because this is what we want to see. Because I don't give a shit about
ace king versus queens.
I don't. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, unless there's somebody that I really know and I really care about who ran deep in the event, I don't give a shit about any of these hands and any of this made up drama. And this guy owns a nightclub and this guy is a fisherman, and I don't fucking care.
See, I like that stuff. That part, that kind of stuff.
They do it very well, but I've been around it too long. I've been watching the World Series for 10 years now. But this, I mean, get me some popcorn. Dude, I've got my Michael Jackson perm. I'm sitting in front of the popcorn, and my eyes are wide open. If you give me this kind of stuff. So ESPN, don't ever change when it comes to stuff like this.
We'll see more coverage coming out with ESPN, of course, and hopefully. We know that William Kassouf, spoiler alert, doesn't make it to the final table, but
that's
hopefully
a shame.
We'll see more of him along the way, and maybe
they have balls to do that at the final table.
Yeah,
take an orbit penalty for like
that would be
$50K in EV.
Yeah, see if Jack could do that. All right, let's move on. In case you missed it, quick tidbit before we take a break. The Las Vegas National Hockey League team that's going to be starting next year, 2017, in the fall.
That's partially owned, of course, by our.
Do we know that?
Daniel. We speculate.
We speculate.
I think he hasn't said that. Daniel's never said that he actually owns a piece.
I'm not sure that
he's definitely.
It might be like
he's invested in it.
0.05% or something.
Well, of course. I mean, but there's a minimum. There's a minimum. I don't know what percentage it would be.
I'm pretty sure he's publicly said that he's an investor in the team.
But they're not going to
But what does that mean?
If you're running an NHL team, you're not going to take like $100K investment, right? So it's clearly
maybe
substantial.
you do just to be able to say that Daniel Negreanu is a part owner or something. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe they're borrowing his name or who knows.
Yeah.
Either way, Bill Foley is the owner of this thing. He went to West Point,
right?
And
so there's been the speculation the whole way is that this is going to be called the Black Knights. Daniel came on our show and said it's probably going to be called the Black Knights, or he said his wife didn't like it. He said his wife didn't like it, but he still loves it and he's still leaning that way. Turns out, will not be the Black Knights.
What will it be?
It will be either there are three doors, Adam.
Three doors. It's like Monty Hall problem. We'll tilt somebody else. We'll
oh God, I don't know.
The Prisoner's Dilemma last week. The Monty Hall problem this week.
No, I'm not even going there. Right. Door number 1 is the Desert Knights.
Okay.
Door number 2, the Silver Knights.
Yeah.
And behind door number 3, the Golden Knights.
My God, those are terrible.
So we all know their names. They're all knights.
So what happened? They
Knights?
trademarked these 3 names or something?
They have trademarked these 3 names on purpose so that nobody knows which one. No, well, I mean, obviously, if they just wanted to trademark one of them, then everybody would know the name. But they filed for trademarks for all 3 so that they can do this grand unveiling, which will happen in October. I believe it's actually in Vegas. Could be wrong. Gary Bettman will be in attendance. Boo.
So I wish we had the clip of when Gary's brother-in-law. Yeah. No, what's the guy's name? The guy who came on. He was the commissioner of the World Series of Poker for a while.
Ty Stewart.
No.
Oh.
It was him and Andy Duke started the Epic Poker League.
Oh my God, we're bad at poker.
Anyways, his brother-in-law came on. MJ kind of didn't know what happened and made a fool of himself.
Right,
anyway.
because Gary Bettman was his brother-in-law. But yes, Gary, they're making a big production out of it. They are going to announce it in October. Of course, that's just coming around the corner with the new NHL season starting with this.
I gotta say that I think the Desert Knights is the best.
I was just going to ask you guys. So Ross votes for door number 1.
Desert Knights has the kind of the double meaning. It's Las Vegas. You spend the night in the desert.
That's good.
Yeah. Ooh, I never even thought of that.
Yeah. I like Desert Knights by far the best of those 3.
Yeah.
Golden Knights is just
It doesn't make sense.
So I heard the rumor that it was silver, but that seems really bad because silver's traditionally the second place.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine the 2024 Stanley Cup Finals or something like that. It's the Las Vegas Silver Knights against some Eastern Conference team. Like, there's so much fodder for the other team to say these guys are going to get the silver medal.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a clear loser.
That's
so
good.
I'm with you guys. Desert Knights.
Hopefully it's Desert Knights. One more quick thing. We're going to talk about some WCOOP things here later in the week, but you noticed a tweet from our old friend Alex Wang, who tweeted, underrated poker skill, making a 3-handed deal for more than the original first place payout.
Yeah, this was pretty fantastic. I think because I think Stars always makes you play for the leftover cash, but in a tournament that was scheduled to pay $292,000 and change, I think
for first
WCOOP 35. Yeah, for first place it was like a $1.8 million prize pool. The player European, who's got the 2 E's in the European or Euro signs from Finland, won $297,000. That's always been a bucket list thing for me. I've always wanted to negotiate better than first place,
but did he though? So he negotiated.
He didn't technically do that, but I mean, if you consider what his equity was when they chopped up the chips,
he's got more than
then you say, he did that. So I think I'm still giving it to him.
You're gonna give it to him?
It's such a hard thing to do.
It is.
That because you have to have such a dominant lead. The other guys have to be even in chips, pretty much. Like it's
bad at making deals.
It's not even bad at making deals. It could be like kind of ICM correct, right? Like if they literally both. Yeah. Well, sorry, not ICM correct. I guess it could be utility correct because, like, if you have a certain payout structure, like let's say literally like you have one guy with 2.5 big blinds and one guy with 2 big blinds.
Yeah.
Then you're basically flipping for second, right? It's like who's going broke first. So I mean it definitely could be correct.
But that wouldn't be ICM correct though, right?
Yeah, that's why I sort of say utility correct. But you can imagine sort of like, say it's the main event, right, of the World Series, and first is $8 million, and second is $5 million, and third is $3 million or something, whatever. You're basically in a $2 million flip with the other guy, and the other good thing is once you make a deal, you can actually play like a normal person again.
There you go. All right, so you played the Limit Hold'em today. World Championship of Online Poker Limit Hold'em event ran today. We're going to talk about a hand or two, I think, from there.
Yep. Spoiler alert, didn't win. Doing the show
not
instead.
Doing the show. And we'll get to that. We got some mailbags. We got voicemails and regular mail to get to. We're going to do that right after the break. You're listening to 2+2 Pokercast presented by Run It Once. Leave it right here.
Hey Pokercast fans, don't forget to follow me, Adam, and Ross on the old social medias. I'm at TChanPoker on Twitter, and once in a while I'll even talk poker if I'm not trying to hit him in the face. If Adam ever gets home from hockey practice, he tweets at PokerCast Adam, and Ross is at PokerCast Ross whenever he's sweating the Chicagos. Hit us up and try to keep it to 140 or less. I mean, fewer.
Hey, poker fans, don't forget about the 2plus2.com digital magazine. Each month, a wide array of poker professionals and media write fascinating articles about the game you love. Want to learn about big blind versus small blind hand ranges? How about optimal Jeopardy daily double strategy? Topics like those and many others are covered every month. Head on over to 2plus2.com to see what the magazine has to offer this month.
What's up, guys? If you're serious about online poker tournament statistics, you got to check out sharkscope.com. They've been the leader in online poker tournament tracking for over 10 years. If you've ever had the experience of being in an online tournament and being worried that your opponent might be a dangerous shark, sharkscope.com will tell you. And your first 5 searches every day are free. If you log in with your Facebook account, they'll double that to 10 searches. So get on over to sharkscope.com, track your stats, and improve your win rate today.
Okay, people. Most of the kittens have perished. There are a few left you can save, though, and here's how to do it. Get involved with the Pokercast by emailing your questions, suggestions for the show, or even record a sound clip. Adam will be using the best ones on the air. Well, let's face it, probably the worst ones as well. I can see you there at your computer. Send an email right now. Totally disagree with one of Adam's takes last week? Send an email. Love last week's interview? Email. Want to know how much cash Adam has on him right now? Email. Pokercast at 2plus2.com is the address. Ship the funny to Adam today.
Welcome back to the 2plus2 Pokercast, presented by runitonce.com. I'm a little excited to you. I get to go down to a gig tomorrow in Seattle. Heading down to see the Specials live in
must be. You must be excited about. I mean, it's going to be a 4-hour drive for you, right?
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, maybe not the way you drive. It's like 2, but
yeah, you don't want to get a ticket down there. They're serious down there, as we pointed out earlier. It should be a good time. So let's get into some 140 or less.
140 characters. That's it. I love hashtags. I love all of them.
Terrence Chan.
He needs more than 140 characters to express himself.
140 or less.
All right, let's get right into it. Doyle Brenson has tweeted something that I cannot read because he's blocked me. So you put the link in the show notes.
That was the funniest thing. That was the funniest thing. So I threw it up and I saw that and I was like, oh, that would make a good 140 or less. And I copy pasted it to Adam and he's like, I can't read that. Doyle blocked me.
Which is fantastic because I don't actually follow Doyle. Like I unfollowed him maybe like a year and a half ago or something just because I don't know, for whatever reason.
Something that pissed you off?
Yeah, and then
you've never been a fan.
I've never been a fan, but I also wasn't blocked when I unfollowed him. So he had to search me out somehow to block me.
What do you mean he wasn't
blocked? When I unfollowed him, I was still able to read all his tweets clearly because I
probably
him for a reason.
I would imagine. So I would guess what happened was that somebody mentioned him in a tweet and you replied and then he blocked you.
Oh, maybe that would happen.
I would have to think that's how that happened.
It just seemed weird.
But anyway, Doyle blocked by Doyle. That's
Doyle.
That's a pretty good. It's like.
And comic book guy also blocks me.
Third prize is you're fired.
Wow,
indeed.
There you go.
All right,
how about Pamela? Has Pamela blocked you?
No, Pamela has not blocked me.
As far as you know. Oh, that's kind of an honor to be blocked by poker royalty.
If I was in Scouts, that would be my blocked by Doyle badge.
Oh yeah, I mean that's achievement unlocked for sure. But I'll read it because I have not yet been blocked by @TextDolly.
Maybe after this you might.
Right, maybe listen to the show. Okay, so what he says was, don't think that the criteria for the Poker Hall of Fame will ever be changed. Why do people that don't come close to meeting it keep getting nominated? So Doyle, if I'm interpreting this correctly, he is mad that people who don't come close to meeting the Poker Hall of Fame criteria keep getting nominated. And this is obviously, to anybody, I think, other than Doyle, tremendously ironic because everybody's main complaint about the Poker Hall of Fame is that it's just Doyle's buddies.
Yeah, so people that are getting nominated by your campaigns for some people,
right?
Are in the Hall of Fame. Sailor Roberts, people that
exactly like how is Sailor Roberts' contribution to poker like greater than Matt Savage's,
right?
Or
it's not close.
People who aren't in there yet.
This guy was driving around Texas and gambling. Great, cool, great story. Who's done more for poker, Matt Savage or Sailor Roberts?
Who the hell is Tom Abdo?
Yeah, I don't know. It's nuts. Anyway, we don't want to go off on our Hall of Fame rant.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
All right, the next one. You want to read the next one?
Sure. So this had to do with
this guy's got a bug up his ass.
Yeah. This had to do with the fact that I said last week that my friend went on Facebook and said, I'm going to take not Hillary. I'll take not Hillary at even money.
Asked for the action. Went on Facebook and said, "I want not Hillary."
At even. And this was, of course, the day that it came out that she had pneumonia. And, of course, with that, the potentially might drop out of the race. So she said, the field against Hillary. I look, field's plus 175. I'm like, I think I will take that arbitrage. You made fun of me for refusing to, which I'm fine with. Yeah. I'm totally fine with you calling me an EV whore, because that's what I am. Have been since I was 17 years old.
You got it in bad today, though. Against me.
We'll talk about that, I guess. Maybe next week we'll talk about. We can't talk about the bat
now. It'll spoil the action.
It'll absolutely spoil the action. But more importantly, it still wouldn't be fair to the subject of the person that we're talking about. So he wrote at HelloFriend72, and I didn't respond to this on Twitter, but he says, he's obviously listening to the show, so hello Friend72. It's really scummy to book bets at plus 100 when the line is plus 175. Adam Schwartz, you've been around gambling for a very long time, your entire adult life. Is what I did unethical?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think if you went to this person and said, hey, I want not Hillary, I'll give you even money.
Right.
The line is even. Well,
that's still kind of a hustle, but I don't even know if it's unethical.
I mean, I could see him saying, "Oh, well, that's not really something very cool." This person went on Facebook and said, "Hey, I'm looking for action at this line on this thing."
And this is somebody I know through poker,
and who can spend 5 seconds.
He doesn't play poker for a living anymore, but this is. Yeah, exactly. If you play poker for a living, you've made bets, and he took 500 of it, right? He didn't take $50. This isn't like you're betting your Uncle Stu that,
And it's not 50,000. I mean, I guess there's some amount of money that this X% of this person's net worth. If he's your friend, you kind of go,
But he also said, I'll take 500 of it, which that was his response to what I wrote.
Yeah.
So I mean, 500 is clearly in his risk tolerance to lose.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a real hard time that you're going to find gamblers who think what I did was unethical. If they're out there, go ahead, post in the thread, pokercast.2plus2.com. Tell me that I'm a scumbag. I'll do one.
You do the next one? Okay.
I'll do, yes. I'll go one more, and then I'll let you finish off the rest. Brian Saslavchik.
He's our buddy, and he runs one of the magazines down in South America.
Okay.
He spent some time showing us around Buenos Aires. Nice guy.
Okay. He is Brian Sass Poker. The tweet is in Spanish, so I'm going to have to practice my Spanish. I'll translate at the end. Me enteré que Aniduke va a aparecer en TMS IDK, el nuevo proyecto at Freakonomics. Les envié este email, and yo pido disculpas for being shitty at Spanish. Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's see you read it, Ross. Let's see you read it. So what that actually says was, I found out that Annie Duke will appear in TMS IDK, which is the new project of Freakonomics. So Freakonomics is, of course, the book and podcast by Stephen Dubner, a New York Times bestseller, pop culture, economics books. And he's starting a new podcast called Tell Me Something I Don't Know, is TMS IDK. And I don't know what exactly the format is. I think they it's like a sort of game show for celebrities or something like that. But anyway, and he says, I sent them this email, and I'll read this email. And it goes...
Are you reading it in Spanish?
No.
Okay.
Well, he wrote to Steve in English. This was Stephen Dubner.
Okay.
I'll gloss over it real quick, but it's worth it. It says, I work as... my name is Brian Saslavchik. God, I'm the worst. I can read Spanish, but not Saslavchik. And I work as a general coordinator for Card Player Latin America. I've been a fan of Freakonomics for a long time, and today I learned that Annie Duke would be appearing in TMS IDK. As a respected, in brackets, member of the poker community, I felt the need to email you about her standing in the poker scene. She used to be a professional poker player about 10 years ago. Ever since then, she stopped playing altogether. He links to her Hendon mob, where her, of course, last result is from 2011. It's important to note that she was involved in the Epic Poker League scandal, of which she was a permissioner. EPL promised a $1 million free roll, but went bankrupt before delivering it. During her tenure, she received $300,000 in wages, even though the league was in debt several million. She never made any effort to run the free roll or compensate players. It's worth mentioning that her brother, Howard Lederer, was the person in charge of Full Tilt Poker, a poker site that scammed hundreds of players out of hundreds of millions by using the funds to pay for the owner's dividends. Both Annie and her brother would have a very hard time walking into a World Series of Poker event without being heavily questioned and insulted for the hardships that they made some people go through. They ruined many people's lives, and the poker community will never forget. I'm hoping I'm telling something you didn't know, pun intended, because I'd be very disappointed if you already knew this and decided to invite for it anyway. Thanks for reading. Thank you for the endless hours of entertainment and learning. Signed, Brian. I'll try it one more time. Suslavchik.
I wonder if was it effective? Do we know if?
So I read the tweet, and then there's a follow-up that's all in Spanish, where somebody asked him like what was the response, and he did post the response. And the subject or the email simply says, "Re Annie Duke, thanks for the heads up," and then he signs it, Stephen Dubner. So basically, he read the email.
Yeah, he has the information.
We'll see what he does on the show, and it's really interesting, right? Because we've talked about this many, many times about how Annie manages to become the de facto go-to person in the media. Whenever somebody's like, "Hey, we need a poker player," somehow it's like 90% of the time.
She's
like
really good at it.
You're a poker player. A poker player. That's beyond white trash.
Yeah,
she's really good at public speaking. Yep. She comes off obviously female, being attractive.
Female mother
helps her
multiple children. I think it's 4 or whatever. Like, she's very relatable. And exactly. She does a great job of PR and getting out there. And but we've seen this time and time again. Like, I think we got an email 4 or 5 weeks ago that says like, does the media think that there's only one poker player or something like that? And Annie Duke manages to just get on everything. So, our buddy Brian getting out there.
At Kate Hall, sure, being at Crown Up Guy, Federholtz, looks fun, but no one talks about the crushing psychological weight of wondering if you're the only sentient being in a sim.
Yeah, this, of course, after Fedor retired, quote-unquote.
Yeah, he didn't play the 10K WCOOP today because he was busy doing something else. So I thought that was interesting.
He was retired.
Because he's being busy being retired.
Right.
Exactly.
I enjoyed one from Lance Bradley, of course.
By the way, fantastic follow. If you are interested in poker stuff and you're on the Twitters and you don't follow at Lance_Bradley, you should. He's pretty funny. You're failing.
Dude. Yeah. So this was a response to both me and Kevin Mather. So Kevin tweeted out, Kev Math, of course, tweeted there should be a threshold on when you get an email after winning on DFS sites. And I'd say 38 cents below that is that threshold. So, of course, DraftKings sends you an email if you cash in anything.
Yeah.
Even if you put literally $5,000 in and you got back 38 cents, they'll send you a congratulations, you won an email. And to me, this was reminiscent.
To me too. The first thing I thought about when I read that was exactly what you said.
Yeah. So I said at Kev Math, they're still learning. How long did it take for Party Poker to enable a disable congratulations option for winning a hand? Of course, for those who don't remember, they probably still have it by default option. When you win any pot on Party Poker, there's this big banner that comes out that says congratulations on the balloons, and exactly. They probably advanced it and stuff like that. You could be stuck 7 buy-ins and steal the blinds and it'll come up. And then Lance just killed it and wrote, I just watched a $100,000 tournament that paid 3 spots and hosts were congratulating the 8th place finisher on making the final table. Of course, in reference to the WCOOP event on PokerStars with a 100K buy-in.
Yeah.
That host should be...
Don't talk about Stapes like that.
Questioning himself. No. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he meant it was a PokerStars support person.
Gotcha. All right. Russ, you got one?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Igor Kurganov tweeted, I like caterpillars.
Nice. That's it.
Included a bunch of pictures of caterpillars, and someone sent that to me. Told me that it was.
Who doesn't like caterpillars?
Very important.
Fantastic.
I imagine some people are grossed up by caterpillars.
I think so.
They're an insect.
They're furry and soft, and
some people don't like furry. Tarantulas are furry. Does that make them pleasant?
No, but they're in the shape of a spider.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm just saying not everything furry is
don't
cute.
Bite.
Not everything with fur is cute.
Yeah, indeed. All right, let's get into some of the mailbag.
And now.
That right there is the mail. Now let's talk about the mail. Can we talk about the mail, please, Mac? I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay?
Mailbag. Email number
1. Hey guys, this is Ivan Sarati, currently from Dallas, Texas. I was just calling just to say hello, to tell you guys that you guys do a great job and make my days pretty easy every time I listen to you guys. So thank you. You guys have been talking about a topic that has struck with me a lot. Is the whole home game environment. I am a professional poker player, mid-stakes, anywhere from 1-2 to 5-10. So, yeah, but the catch is my wife is a travel nurse. So we move from place to place every 3 to 6 months. And when I say from place to place, I mean from Rhode Island to Denver, from Denver to Texas, from Texas to Arkansas, North Carolina. In the past 2.5 years, I lived in Wichita, Kansas, Houston, Texas, Little Rock, Arkansas, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Knoxville, Tennessee, in Rhode Island, in Providence, Rhode Island, Denver, Colorado, and currently I am in Dallas, Texas, and I'm about to move in about 3 weeks to Reno, Nevada. Finally, a place that has a casino. Yeah, you guys been talking about home games, and I just wanted to say that it's pretty crazy because finding the games is the hardest part. I know the guy that mentioned on the New York dealer, he mentioned about creating an app to find home games. I think that would be a great idea because once you're in the circle of poker for home games, you're in, and you know everyone, and you find out every single game while you're playing. But getting that circle is the hard part. What I usually do, like I remember a place in Knoxville, Tennessee, I could not find a poker game anywhere. So what I did is I went to this free poker league. I think it was at Applebee's or something like that, where it was free poker just for fun or whatever. So I started playing and just worked my magic, I just started talking a lot and finding if people play cash games around here or not, and if they did, just being friendly and laughing and being an idiot and just like playing blind and all that stuff, just to create a fun environment, just to try to find a game. Finally, I got invited to one game. It was a small 1-2 game. So yeah, that took me. I lived in Knoxville for 4 months, and it took me about 3 weeks to find the game, which it was a lot of time because I usually find them within the week. I usually research them before I moved somewhere. It was crazy. So I think that app will be awesome. Will be amazing. That way it'll be easier for people like me that travel a lot or people that live in places that don't have casinos. So yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. This message, I think, is already too long. I have so many stories in home games and stuff like that. I've traveled a lot. But, yeah, keep up the good work, guys. It's fantastic what you do. It's real fun. I don't know. Just thanks. And thanks for what you do, because I really do appreciate it. Poker is something that's really, obviously, really part of my life. Is the way I put food on the table. So everything that makes more players and everything that makes the game more fun and everything that makes this whole environment, this whole ecosystem grow, it's great, and I'm extremely thankful for that, for people like you and everyone else that does their part in poker. So thanks so much, guys. Keep it up, and I'll talk to you guys later.
That is Ivan from Dallas. He mispronounced his last name. He said Zarate. It's actually Ivan Zarate.
It warmed my feelings at night.
Good of you to correct him on that.
Sorry, yeah.
That's okay.
Pronounce your name properly.
You got you. Ivan, obviously, in the forums a bunch and on Twitter.
Yeah.
One of the gang
in
the Pokercast forum. So good to hear from Ivan.
Thanks for sending that in, Ivan. In the future, guys, maybe try and shorten it up a tad.
Yeah.
Keep it a little tighter. But anyway, I think the app is. I'm wondering if it's a good idea. You live in a country where
easily exploitable.
Yeah, you live in a country where it's illegal to play in these games, and you're going to give the cops an app that they can just go click. Oh, there's a game at 439 Central Street. I guess I'll have to get in the car and go on over.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very it's like very tantalizing. You understand why people would want it. Like, you kind of have the, maybe Ian can jump in the forums if we're if we've missed something, but I like the idea that like, oh, okay, you invite somebody to your game and like they turn out to be good, so you give them 5 stars, sort of like the Uber thing, or that person goes. Well, I mean, I'm not joking.
I know. I just think it's funny that there would be an app for it.
Yeah, and like similarly, you go to a game and it's like a well-run game, and you give them 5 stars and that kind of thing, and you would help people find high-quality games. I imagine that's something that Ian's
had the idea.
Got that, but yeah, I don't know how exactly you get through the sort of law enforcement angle. Maybe you only run the app in games where home games are legal, because of course there are many places where home games are absolutely legal.
Indeed. All right.
Email number 2.
Hi guys, I'm the Deadpan Guy, and I'm a huge fan of the show. I don't know much about poker, but I tune in as often as possible for some of Ross's Tinder strategy tips. I actually consider myself to be an advanced player too, so I'd love to sit down one day, potentially at a Cubs game, and discuss some GTO Tinder strategy. I don't know whether you or not you've seen my videos, but I'm probably the world champion of keeping a straight face. I'd like to know whether Terrence thinks that if he punched me in the face as hard as he could get a reaction out of me. That actually sounds like fun. Hit him in the face! I also enjoy Adam's speeding ticket avoidance strategy sessions. Adam, do you think that if I was a passenger in your car, you could crack my deadpan? I highly doubt it. But next time I'm in Vancouver, we can test the theory if you're up for it. If any of you guys want to stake me in a game, I'd be up for that. Like I said, I don't know much about poker, but I have an impeccable poker face, and everyone knows that's the most important thing. Lastly, I wanted to get your opinion on a new idea I'm thinking about. We're all familiar with the giant stick-looking things they use in craps games to push the dice around. I was thinking about getting a shorter version of the same stick to drag in my pots from now on. Pretty sure that would tilt whoever lost a hand. We'd love to hear yours. Choose and have a good one. The Deadpan Guy.
Aussie Deadpan Guy with a great idea.
You like the stick?
One of the crap sticks, you just pull the pot in? That was so tilt everybody.
There used to be a dealer in Vancouver.
He had the I know exactly
the claw would just it would slow it down so much because you can't possibly use a claw as fast as you use your hand. So that would tilt the hell out of me. But yeah, you like that?
Oh, Aussie Deadpan Guy with a great idea.
I'm not gonna hit you in the face.
I think Jack Eiffel would probably put the guy. He'd get a run-round penalty for some reason. I don't think I could break Aussie Deadpan Guy in driving him around the city. I don't think he's gonna break. He's a deadpan guy.
Depends how many times you get pulled over.
That's true. Or how fast I'm going.
Email number 3.
Hey guys, this is Robert calling from Mount Pleasant, Michigan. I'm 50,463,795,343.8 bill U.S. thicknesses from Kells. My question is, last week there was a discussion or a debate about whether I have you covered is a legit answer to how much you got. If the other player indeed has me covered, then how can me knowing exactly how many chips he has give me more information? I was wondering if you can give me an example of that. So keep up the good work, and maybe in a few years, Poker Stars will just eliminate poker altogether and run it once. We'll dominate the market. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks, Robert, from Mount Pleasant.
Hey,
Many bill thicknesses from Kells.
I'm going to call bullshit on the exact accuracy of
head up down to 0.8.
Yeah, I'm going to
0.8 of.
I'm going to go ahead and say that there might be a margin of error on that one.
As far as the I have you covered thing, well, clearly, if a guy has 20 million and the guy with 100,000 says, "Do you have me covered?" versus
or
if the guy with
how much you got,
you got, and he says, or the guy with 100,000 asking somebody with 110,000,
right?
How much have you got? It's a much bigger deal to how much that influences what that player's range is. It changes the range.
Yeah, like let's say you're three-handed, and there's like, again, we're talking about payout structures, so like 10 million for first, 5 million for second, 3 million for third, or whatever weird thing. Like let's say you have two very short stacks, like I have 100K, Adam has 110K, and Ross has 40 million. It's very reasonable even if I ask Adam how much you got and he says I have you covered, it's very reasonable for me to find out, because I know that if I bust him, he's functionally dead, versus, say, if you have 600,000, then it's a big difference. Even if I double through you, you actually still have me covered. But you're right. Most of the time, it doesn't matter. Most of the time,
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Like basically, when you're not in the money, it definitely doesn't matter. Or when you're not close to the money, it definitely doesn't matter. And most of the time, once you're in the money, it doesn't matter either. So I would say, like, in 99.5% of the situations, it doesn't matter.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, I guess my point is, it matters. It changes how a guy would play his hand if it's for 5% of his hand or 5% of his stack or 95% of his stack.
Yeah, it shouldn't, in theory, from like a purely ICM perspective, it shouldn't.
Oh, but everybody doesn't play like that.
Exactly. Like it's more of a psychological thing. Like, I don't want to go broke for my tournament, kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a lot of people that
for sure.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Most of the time, it's like from a purely theoretical perspective, and I think that's how the question was being asked, sort of like from a poker theory standpoint. How does it matter? It mostly doesn't. But yeah, from an actual real world people playing poker against each other perspective, it does.
Email number
004.
Martin writes in, "Hey guys, just listened to the latest show and wanted to give my 2 cents regarding the entrepreneurial life that Alex mentioned." Alex Dreyfus, he's talking about. What he meant, in brackets, at least as I understood it and how I experience it daily, was not that it's just part of said entrepreneurial life to loan, swap money, and not pay back within agreed upon timeframes. What is part of entrepreneurial life, though, is the fact that you find yourself with your back against the wall quite often and unexpected. This can lead to difficulties in payment, which sucks, but sometimes, well, that's just how it is. This happens every day around the world on every level and often with no malicious intent. Important is, however, to stay in contact, offer smaller multiple payments, etc. Alex clearly failed in that department. I agree with you there. Here's a nice little story that maybe explains the entrepreneurial life and its challenges better than I can with my fucked up English. Clips and the title basically, keep it up, guys, enjoying the new format. And the story that he is actually a fascinating story that he cites, and it's the founder of FedEx, Federal Express, once saved the company by taking its last $5,000 and turning it into $32,000 by gambling in Vegas. This guy couldn't meet payroll.
Like straight out of a movie.
When he first started,
that's like what everybody does in a movie, right? Yeah. When they're like, we'll go bet it on black. Like,
I read the story. It's really cool. The guy couldn't make payroll, so he thought, well, we're going to go bankrupt anyways because I can't make payroll. Right. So I'm going to take the $5,000 that I have. It's a free roll. It's a total free roll. And he saved the company, and off they went, or whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we first started talking about it, I was saying that there's a language issue for sure. That Alex probably doesn't understand that this isn't going to be taken well. He might understand, but there's a chance that he doesn't understand what he was saying and how it comes off with people who speak English firsthand.
I mean, to me, the issue is still not that the language that he doesn't speak is English as his first language. The language that he doesn't speak very well is poker,
right?
In my opinion.
Yeah,
and that's a much harder challenge to overcome because you can hire an English tutor. You can't immerse yourself in poker the way that he needs to. In my opinion.
Fair enough.
Email number.
It's number 5.
Conrad writes, "Thank you for reading my email a few months ago. I guess that's your job. That means you know already how many miles I am from Kells. If you don't, too bad. Ouch, Conrad.
Do you think I care?"
Nicely done, Ross. He says, "I've got a few questions for you guys. First, I wanted to ask Terrence, what would you have to accomplish in order to get into the UFC? Also, I'm curious, why is such a thing as weight cutting? Why is such a thing as weight cutting is a thing in MMA? Let's say your normal weight is 131 pounds. Wouldn't it be better for you to fight in a 135-pound division instead of torturing yourself and dehydrating yourself to get to 115 or 125? Seems to me that it kills the spirit of the sport a little bit. You are just trying to beat up a smaller guy. And also, how better would you feel not having to get rid of the water from your body? Apparently, if you lose a few percent of the water in your body, then it doesn't work properly. But it might be flawed logic. So I guess I'll handle that.
Do you want to answer this before you go on? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, the reason is that you get 24 hours to rehydrate. In fact, sometimes you get more. So you're absolutely right. If I were a 131-pound person, I would definitely rather fight at 125. You could still not lose water. But let's say I weigh 100. I lay low 140s most of the time, and I fight at 125. It would be much better for me to fight 135 if I actually had to fight at 135 pounds in the ring. I would never try to get down to 125 because when I'm at 125 pounds, I can barely walk. Like, I'm not joking. Like, it's a struggle for me to like walk quickly if I'm actually 125 pounds. But you get 24 hours to rehydrate, and if I recall correctly, I think you can rehydrate somewhere like 1.5 liters per hour, which is obviously a lot. So normally 24 hours after the weight cut, you feel pretty good as long as you didn't really overdo it and try to cut like 35 pounds or something insane like that. The spirit of the sport in terms of, you're just trying to beat up a smaller guy. Yeah, I can see where you're going by that, but everybody cuts weight, so there really is no smaller guy.
Right.
When I fight at 135, the other guy is cut to fight a smaller guy. If I cut to 125 and some guy who's much smaller than me, potentially, then I'm fighting a smaller guy too. But if everybody's doing it, that's the problem. The problem is nobody likes cutting weight. None of us fighters like cutting weight. We would all love to fight at the weight. But
it's not possible.
It's not possible because this is a classical game theory thing again, where there's too much incentive to be the guy who does cut weight, right? It's sort of like just this, you would have to all go by the honor system and say like, nobody cut weight now, guys. Okay, are you sure? All right, we're all going to do this, and then boom, you've got a 175 pound guy now fighting at 145 pounds, and he
puts it all back on. He
looks like a giant compared to a guy, and Hulk Hogan's a guy out of the ring. So,
and what would you have to accomplish in order to get to the UFC?
Oh, right. That depends. I mean, I could be a professional wrestler and get in there. No. I don't know. I mean, 3-0s. There have been guys in the UFC with worse records than mine. I think there's been some 2-0 guys and some 3-1 guys and stuff like that. Timing, luck, marketability. But I've talked to the UFC. They're not looking for people in my weight class right now. They actually feel like they've got too many in my weight class because the new season of the reality TV show is 125ers.
Oh, okay.
So that's a rough beat. So I don't know. I mean, definitely, I think if I get to 6-0, 7-0, definitely. They do have plans in China, which is obviously really helpful for me. So,
got a outside shot. What are your
China!
chances if you had to lay odds on you ever fighting in the UFC? What would it be?
If somebody were to give me like 15-1, I'd take it.
You take 15-1?
Yeah. But I don't know.
Oh, Jimmy's
I think it'd be getting good at 15-1 and getting it in bad at 5-1.
Okay.
So somewhere around that.
Cool.
The email from Conrad continues. I request to Ross if he could play the MJ drop. Thank you, and I'm guessing he means the drop.
Ross got to find it.
I'll keep reading while Ross hunts for it. He says, besides that, why do you play the drop with the flute? I mean, what's with the theoretical situation when you play that drop?
It's an Irish penny whistle.
It's an Irish penny whistle, and of course we play it when you mention how many miles from Kells you are. I also
Joe, and so
assholes. Excellent. We got multi-level drops there.
Yeah.
Conrad continues. I also wanted to say I love the Twitch streams when you guys were reporting the show. I think it would be a good idea to do that.
Yeah,
once
we should.
in a while. We've got some technical difficulty with that. It tends to burn out Ross's computer. But if Mr. Galfon wants to buy Ross a brand new shiny MacBook Pro, whenever these new MacBook Pros are coming out, by the way, how tilted are you? I don't know if you follow this.
No.
I mean, okay. How old is your MacBook Pro?
2 years.
Okay. Well, they haven't released.
It's not Pro. It's an Air.
Oh, it's an Air. Okay. They haven't released.
I don't think it's 2 years. You got this fairly recently.
Yeah.
They have not released a MacBook Pro in forever, and it's tilting me because I've been wanting to upgrade like so hard.
Oh, I see.
And they keep releasing iPhone 6, iPhone 7, iPhone 92.
Right.
Look, we have no headphones. Look at us.
We're
no
cool.
new MacBook Pros.
All right.
His last question looks like, or his penultimate question, there's quite a few here. Conrad had a few things. Now to you, Adam, let's say that someone, in brackets, a hitman hired by Jungle Man or something, puts a gun to your head and demands from you that you either give up poker, that is, you can't play poker anymore, you can still visit your friends that play, but you can't talk about the game, you can't visit poker sites, or bacon, what would you choose? So poker or bacon? A. Schwartz. What do you give up?
Bacon. But poker puts bacon on the table.
That's true, but
it seems like a thing
you
I
could
can't
get
give
a
up.
different job and
I hate jobs.
Continue to beat bacon.
I'm giving up bacon if that's my two choices. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. You've picked the one food stuff that made it was close. But
yeah, that's gotta rip your heart out. Luckily, we live in the real world where you don't have to actually make these decisions.
Does prosciutto count? Can I just eat that now?
I think prosciutto would be
That's
you
acceptable?
would be allowed prosciutto.
So it'd be all around bacon.
Yeah,
but it would be
exactly. we're specifically talking about we're specifically. And then the last question, I've got a question for all of you. What are your dream guests that you would like to have on the show who are outside of the poker world?
Wow.
Ross, do you think you can think of somebody
outside of the poker world?
Dream guest.
Oh man, this is one of those questions where you have so many, but it's hard to pinpoint one.
Give us the top three that jump into your head, then, if you can think of that.
Do you guys have one off the
off the top of my head? I would like to Mark Cuban. I think would be a lot of fun.
That's a good one.
To talk to Cuban about business. I wouldn't really want to talk politics with him, but the whole Shark Tank thing's fascinating. I love that show.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, sports and stuff you could talk about, and the digital .com world that he made all his money and some of the different things that happened there. I think he's probably got a lot of great stories to tell. I think Cuban would be one of them for sure. I wouldn't want politics. It'd be somebody to do with hockey, probably like maybe a Scotty Bowman or stories from Don Cherry. I hate Don Cherry now, but I think he'd have a lot of fun stories. Like somebody from back then and that would have some great. Somebody from Esposito would be great because you could talk about the '72 series with Canada, Russia. That would be neat. Those are a couple probably.
I think mine I would probably like, because I'm so into podcasts these days. I think I would like Tim Ferriss because I think he has sort of really nailed lifestyle management down. He's a guy who's like in search of happiness and optimizing his own life, and he's got a tremendous background like in the business world, in the book writing world, but he's also very human and very willing to explore his human side and the emotional side of things and dreams and just kind of how to make your life better. And I've been a big fan of his podcast for a long time, and he took up podcasting like 2 years ago, and he's got like a top 5 maybe top 3 iTunes
pretty cool
podcast. I think I've said before I'd like to have him on this show. I'd be super down because he did that one poker related episode with Phil Gordon, and I thought he would want to pimp that out, but I did not get past his firewall of secretaries and whoever manages his email.
What about like a fighter, like old school fighter, Chuck Liddell, someone like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are probably some fighters that I would be interested in, like through a translator, I might do Kazushi Sakuraba, who started out as a pro wrestler and became one of the greatest fighters of all time, like a Japanese pro wrestler, and he's just this crazy dude who chain smokes and fights. There's definitely some fighters that I would do, but I feel like I have the opportunity. I could have the opportunity to interact with fighters that I like.
I wanted to interview your opponent.
Yeah, Saturday. That was something you wanted to do. You wanted to talk to.
Would have been fun to talk to him and just to know.
I tried to get you a media pass. I don't know if you saw that email, but you mentioned that to me. I tried to get you a media pass, but apparently they're
pretty tight on that.
It's a tight ship they run at Battlefield Fight League. So next time we have to give them a few weeks' notice. But you could get backstage with a Zoom recorder and do that.
Yeah.
I think interviewing is kind of like a situational thing. I like to have whoever's on that's doing something interesting at the moment. But right off the top of my head, I have to say that Billy Walters.
Billy Walters would be fast. You're right into sports betting now.
Yeah.
Billy Walters would be amazing. He did 60 Minutes, but he didn't really talk about some of the stories.
Full access.
Just sitting down with him and talking sports would be amazing.
I'd also like to talk to Bob Dylan.
Oh, Dylan would be cool. Good. I didn't think music, There's a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people in music.
Morrissey, I'd like to talk to. But I was lucky enough to, Mike and I, we interviewed Roberto Luongo. We had a half an hour with Luongo.
That's probably your favorite poker
That was
one ever,
probably
right?
my favorite interview ever. That was a lot of fun.
I remember where I was listening to that one as I was hiking in Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah? Because Mike and I were big fans, obviously, of the Canucks, and we kind of knew a lot of things that we wanted to ask him. And
Did you think when you asked you were going to get the interview?
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
How did you do it? How did you negotiate?
Our buddy Jason March, who Luongo was sponsored by the BC Lottery by Play Now, and Jason handled it and was friends with them. So He got us.
And he was great. He's such an awesome. He's a great Twitter follower too.
He is.
I forgot to tell you guys about the. So I went to that wedding. That's why I couldn't go to Terrence's fight. And the gift that I gave.
Don't worry, I won't forget it.
The gift that I gave my friends, because it's two of my good friends from growing up who ended up tying the knot.
Cool.
I brought the Zoom and I recorded interviews with all of their friends, the groomsmen and the bridesmaids, the parents and stuff.
Memories of them. And
memories,
stuff.
yeah. And I'm gonna cut it into a nice little.
Yeah, it's kind of like being the wedding
them.
photographer, but you're the wedding audiographer.
Yeah.
Put it on like 8-track or something. So, yeah,
well, you won't lose it that way. Yeah,
I thought,
put it in MP3 and make it lost.
I'm excited to. I haven't quite finished it. But I'm excited to see what it's like.
That's a very good, thoughtful gift, Ross.
Thank you. Where are we at? 6? That was a while.
Sounds good.
Email
Even
number
if it's not.
6.
Ambrose from Chicago writes, yeah, it's not like it's imperative that we're accurate with this, is it? Re the Adam versus Terrence debate, re our bot overlords. I can definitely see both points of view. I think
so. This is the I guess we should set up what he's actually talking about.
Go
this
ahead.
is the discussion that we had.
Well, it was two different discussions, I guess.
Two shows. Yeah. The discussions we had about whether Ben Tollerine had this
dream machine,
so-called dream machine, and what the nature of it was,
and what's the implications,
and just basically machine learning in poker in general.
I can definitely see both points of view. I think Adam's premise is just that the existence of powerful computing tools hurts the poker economy, but not that they should therefore be banned. It struck me more as almost like a wistfulness or nostalgia for a simpler time when poker was ruled as much or more by at-the-table craftiness than offline study. But it seems like he acknowledges that time marches on, and maybe it just means that poker shouldn't be played for money anymore, or won't be. For whatever it's worth, I think he's right. Back in the day, you could enter the poker economy at the lowest limits available relatively cheaply against the weakest competition because players who improved, whether by experience or poker stove, would move up in limits. But bots, or the threat of, can be everywhere. So not only are new players more often and more quickly crushed right out of the gate, eliminating the potential for them to become long-term contributors to the economy, but it effectively changes the game from a contest of natural poker ability to a contest of bot programming, bot training, or bot deploying abilities. That's not necessarily a worse game, but a game that the average person is less interested in playing. I occasionally reflect on the timing of my skill set and the evolution of gambling and advantage play. My skills are pretty useless in the current climate, but back in the 90s, me and Excel did a lot of damage to casinos. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's... I wouldn't say it's 100% right what I was trying to say. But certainly was I wistfulness and nostalgic for simpler time? Yeah, I think that's
right. And I think people have this perception of, or at least have had this perception that poker is sort of like the my wits against your wits. It's a very romantic notion,
sure,
right?
That's the allure of the game.
It's very much the allure
having
of the game.
Spreadsheets
I'm
playing.
outsmarting you. Exactly. It's not like, I memorized that Jack 7 suited is a jam 3 off the button at this many big blinds. It's not nearly as fun to think about it in that kind of a way. But yeah, as pointed out, like this is the sort of thing that I said when back in 2001 I knew how to use Poker Stove. That gave me an advantage. Ambrose is saying like back in the 90s he just had an Excel spreadsheet and he was probably like advantage playing blackjack or whatever he was doing back. I guess probably only blackjack. I don't know what else you can
I'm sure there's lots of different
like somebody
promotions and stuff.
Yeah, somebody just does a promotion and doesn't do the math. I mean these kind of things still happen, right? Like they just do like a pie gow promotion.
Much rarer, but yeah. But they were they certainly were. I know some high profile poker players this year at the World Series of Poker were exploiting a smaller casino in Las Vegas to a terrible promotion. So yeah, it does still happen.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to do a little bit different. We're going to do a Ross report, except it's more of a T-Chan report. And these are a couple of hands that Terrence played.
And because it's a T-Chan report, we do not play the air horns.
No air horns. No air hornless drop.
I don't know how to do that, but
no.
Good old Roscoe. Sure glad he's all right.
Listen, boy, you gotta pick your spots good. You gotta make hay while the sun shines. Hey, good. Yeah, good. You dipstick!
some of the best things that I've ever put in my mouth. I deserve that. Fair enough.
All right.
I hate air horns.
Do you want to do this hand?
Sure.
Do you want me to do it? Okay.
I got it. So this was from today's, as you mentioned.
What was the buy-in?
$1,000.
Okay.
The WCOOP. I used to be good at these things.
This was your thing.
This used to be my thing. It's a 6-handed limit hold'em. Our villain in this hand is a gentleman we talked about last week on the show, Mr. Andre Akari, newly
sponsored by Puma.
Puma sponsored.
Does he have a Puma logo?
He doesn't.
No.
Oh, we should get him in trouble.
Yeah.
The blinds are 400, 800.
I think he's also sponsored by PokerStars. No,
that's true. Yeah.
I guess there's that aspect of it. The blinds are 200, 400. The limits are 400, 800. It doesn't matter though because we're still early in the tournament and it's limit poker.
Yeah, lots of chips.
We got lots of chips. It's folded around to him in the small blind and he raises. I have the 10 of diamonds, 8 of clubs, and I 3-bet to 1,200. That's not.
Okay, I want to ask you about that first.
Sure. I mean, obviously. Okay, go ahead.
That's an interesting 3-bet there. I like it because I think you get more board coverage when you flop. So let's say it comes King 7-9, you're going to be able to represent a king. When it comes Queen Jack 4, you're going to represent a queen or a jack. Like you're going to be able to represent a lot of boards.
Yeah. Even more importantly, like ace. Deuce boards, I think, are super important because if you're facing a 3-bet and the flop comes ace deuce, you can't continue on very many boards if you're in the small blind. Well, I mean, you can continue with king queen and stuff like that, but I mean, it's still really hard to So I mean, it's completely a board coverage 3-bet. It's not like not that I think that 10-8 on its own is such a fantastic hand. The flop comes down.
So he calls. You 3-bet. He calls.
I 3-bet and he calls. The flop comes down Queen 9-8 with the Queen 9 of hearts, the 8 of diamonds. He checks. I c-bet and he calls.
You got bottom pair gutter.
Yeah, I think that's pretty standard for me to bet there. The turn is a 7, giving me an open ender with my 10 to go with my third pair. So the board is now Queen 9-8 7. It's an offsuit 7.
Still 2 hearts.
Now he leads out and I call. So this is interesting.
So that lead to me is really weak a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
If he's got a big hand there, he's check raising you a lot of the time. He's trying to be able to set up a bet on the bluff on the river almost a lot of the time, it seems like, with that bet.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right a lot of the time. I think Andre is a good enough player to be balanced here. I think he can have like sort of semi-good hands even, like say a Jack 7. Or something like that, like something that improved to some extent, but not in the way that he was
Ace
hoping.
7 of hearts, something like that, right?
Maybe even that, yeah. I could see him playing Ace 7 of hearts in a way like that. The river is the 5 of clubs, so the board is now Queen. So I just call, so I don't raise. I don't think there's a lot of value in raising there. But I don't know if maybe you think there is. Because
no, I don't like raising there.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so because the way you're talking, you were saying is super weak, so I thought you maybe were down with raising, but I think calling is better. Queen. So the river is the 5 of clubs. So we're now looking at a board of Queen 9-8 7 5. Any 6 being a straight. He bets out. And I'm gonna let you play this, and I'll tell you.
I don't think I'm gonna flat the river. I can't raise the river. I guess can't raise. I think I'm gonna call. I'm gonna mash call here, and might see the Ace 7 of hearts. I might see, Ace King. There's a bunch of hands that I beat. I think in his range. I don't love it, but it's limit poker, and we got here, and I'm getting 17-1 or whatever I'm getting.
Sure.
And I'm ahead of part of his range, so I'm gonna call.
Okay. I ended up raising, actually.
Okay.
And I think this is...
So how do you rep 6s?
Decent spot there.
How do you rep a 6?
Oh. I mean, why wouldn't I have I would absolutely... I could play 6s like this.
I mean, I think you'd have to back into a 6. First of all, you 3-bet
no, I could
3,
have 6s.
And you get... The flop is Queen 9-8.
It's unreasonable to 3-bet 6s blind against blind?
No. I'm just... No, I'm saying it's not a big part of your range. I'm not saying you can't rep it.
Right. Yeah, I mean... I think I have 6. Okay. I think I have enough 6s in my range here. Yeah. So, so I actually do raise, and
because you just thought he was weak the way he let out.
Yeah, but I mean, I also think there is the potential that I can get him off some hands here.
What's he gonna fold?
When
he bets.
My logic here is I think that there's hands like Jack 9 and 10-9 that he can fold.
Or Queen 10, Queen Jack, he's not folding.
Yeah, like that would... I think that is possible and conceivable. I don't know him well enough, and I wouldn't expect people to be able to fold a queen here, but I think it's possible that some people do fold queens here. Turns out I was completely wrong. He tanked and called with king 9. So It turns out that, like, specifically against what he was deciding to do, that my raise is terrible, because if he can't fold the 9 there, he basically is never folding better. I mean, I guess there's better 8s. He could fold if he fold jack 8 and king 8 and ace 8. But I mean, I thought that was an interesting spot. I do have a 10 blocker, which is a nut. I need 10. You need a 10 to have the nuts.
Yeah.
So I thought I think people bluff raise too much and limit hold'em. I might be one of them as well, but I thought this was a decent enough spot.
All right. Hand number 2.
Sure. Earlier in the tournament, again, the stack sizes don't matter and limits don't matter because we're playing limit hold'em. But I raise under the gun with the queen 9 of spades. I think we're only 5-handed at this point. We might be 6-handed. And it's folded around to the small blind, who 3-bets, and I call.
Any info on this guy at all?
I have no information on this guy. I've never seen this guy before, but he's playing a $1,000 limit hold'em tournament, as this info I have. Flop comes down, not very helpful to me. 7 of diamonds, 3 of spades, 2 of diamonds. I have 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw. He bets and I call. I think that's pretty standard. I've just my 2 overs.
Yeah.
The turn is a 3 of hearts and he bets. And to me, this is one of the tougher spots because.
Wow. Is it really? I snap muck this thing.
You snap muck this thing? I think that you're probably right. The problem is that
So he bets into you. When the 3 of hearts comes, he bets.
The 3 of hearts, he bets. I mean, I just think that there's some possibility that my outs are live. But yeah, there's too good of a chance, I think, that I'm drawing a 3 out. So I think I played this hand badly, and I should have folded the turn. For some reason, I called. We'll call it ring rust. But I called. The river's a 6 of diamonds, so the board is now 7-3 deuce 3-6. He checks, having made the mistake.
No choice now.
Yeah, having made the mistake. Okay, so you're with me. I now bluff with the queen high, and he calls. I can't remember exactly what he had, but I think it was probably ace high. So,
yeah.
It was one of these things where like an error on the turn leads it to
leads to another bet on the river.
And so, yeah, that's why I didn't win the tournament today, guys. I used to be good at this game. I used to be good at this game.
You've been busy the last few years. Interesting. Okay, thanks. Thanks for the hands. It's always fun to get some WCOOP hands in there.
Don't be like me. Play better.
Play better. Let's not be results oriented. If he folded, it would have been a great bet.
Then I'm just stroking myself. I'm just stroking myself.
We've got some more stuff coming up in the end of the week. We're going to do some World Championship of Online Poker discussion, and I believe it's going to be close to wrapping up. Obviously, it'll be the weekend before the main event, but lots of fun stories to get to from the World Championship. We'll get some more emails. Hopefully, you can send them in. Pokercast at 2plus2.com. Send them in to us. Head on over to the forums and contribute. We need people with their input. We've got a bunch of stuff we'll also get to later in the week with the comments and questions for the show thread. Tons of stuff. Thanks for posting stuff in there, guys. Keep on doing that. It gives us lots of stuff to talk about, and we can do more shows like a couple of weeks when we've got stuff to talk about.
Adam gets nervous when we don't get enough mail or enough.
Well, because we don't have anything to talk about.
I
mean, it's
we have to fill an hour and a half by ourselves, and
it's great.
We're not that creative.
We are a listener-driven show, so we need your help. Thanks so much to you guys for putting up with us here in your house. T, Roscoe, for pulling yourself away from the baseballs.
You can charge after the game.
The Chicagos. How are we doing with the Chicagos, by the way? They
Chicagos?
Kicking ass?
I wasn't on it. Oh, I was actually on one Chicago today, and they did not do well.
The Chicago didn't win today.
There are multiple Chicagos.
Yeah, there are 2 Chicagos.
One
is
a
really
baseball,
good.
You have to be a baseball betting expert to know that there are 2 Chicagos that play
Chicago's.
baseball.
Right.
Me and Adam, we did the double when we were in Chicago.
We did.
I'm aware that Adam knows that there's 2 Chicago baseball teams.
And special thanks to you guys out there for listening each week. We really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
So should I hit it? No, I've hit it, so you can go ahead.
Hi, welcome. Hi there. How you doing?